Hello and welcome to our final review of the episodes that myself and Jimmy have seen. We are at the end. The light is there in the tunnel, Jimmy. Next week, we are finally watching it with everybody else around the Star Wars galaxy. Like we keep saying on this, it's been absolutely killing us. But this week, we're going to cover episodes 7 and 8. And again, just be warned, they're going to contain spoilers. So if you haven't watched them, go watch them, come back, because we need to talk Maul.
Absolutely, yes. We're finally it does kind of feel like the season's ending, but we got two more great episodes coming up, 9 and 10. Again, we've been fortunate to have the screeners for that, and we want to thank Lucasfilm and Disney for sending that stuff to us, and also making our pain even longer. It's been fun listening to other people speculate.
Yeah, I've loved it. I
And
found it
really
hard.
hard. Yes, and hard not to like, hey, no this, or hey, no that, or hey, that's spot on, or you couldn't be further
Yeah,
away.
even to
Um,
react, it's like, yeah, I
yeah.
just like this.
So yeah, it's weird that this is the first time we've gotten to do this with a show isn't immediate. So it's kind of been a
Yeah,
fun experience for both of us. But we do get to speculate because we don't know. And if anyone says that anyone outside of Lucasfilm says they've seen chapters 9 and 10, they're bold-faced liars. And I think that these episodes that we're going to talk about today will show you why there's a season 2 and probably a season 3, because I don't think we're getting as far as other people do in this first season. So we'll get into that once we start diving into these. First up,
yes,
we got chapter 7, Call to Oblivion, written by Julia Cooperman.
yes, absolute banger as always. And I think the tempo of this is still not slowed down. Personally, it's still going extremely fast. The overall reaction I've had all up until these, and including to the next chapter, so I've jumped a good bit here, is it's just non-stop. It is literally non-stop. And this is, I think, peak Maul, peak action, and the tempo is fast. What about you,
Yeah.
Jimmy?
Yeah, same thing. It's been intense, and this is the thing about Star Wars fans, and people should be honest with themselves. Like, I've been listening to people, like, I'm a fan and I like to hear what other people have to think. Um, People are complaining that it's too fast and there's not enough character development. I'm like, I feel like they've done a really good job of showing us who people are, because the situations that they're in are exposing who they are as people, or who they are as, what kind of beings they are. I haven't had any problem with it. My issue is with fans who are like, well, it's going too slow, or it's going too, like, they're never going to be happy. I don't know how you can't just sit back and enjoy this ride.
Exactly.
It's been awesome. We know there's a season 2 coming. We know there's going to be more answers. Um, you know, that gets us to, like, when we get to 9 and 10, like, what is that going to look like? I'm too old to wake up at 2:45 a.m. like Clan Brandalorian and Mike and all those guys. So I'll be
Yeah.
watching it later Monday afternoon. But yeah, the tempo, man. Another big battle scene in this one. I mean, just intense.
Yeah, no, 100%. And something you brought up there about people saying, there's not enough character development. Well, I'd argue that chapter 7, if this doesn't do it for you for character development, then I don't know what will, because we do see quite a lot of the emotional side of Maul, I'd argue, in this.
Yeah.
What stood out emotionally for this? Again, for me, it's Maul. It is Maul's show, but I think this is the episode where it really does stand out. Anything really stand out for you in this emotionally, Jimmy?
Well, yeah, to me, I don't know if this is because, like, I, listen to all of our friends, our content creator friends, and I was listening to Brandon and John this morning, talking with TR on there, and they're like, we got 4 episodes, and they're trying to. This is a slow moving thing, and what
Mm,
stood out to me is, because you'll have seen episode 7 and 8, and again, we have not seen 9 and 10, so
no.
we could now be the ones who are completely wrong about things.
Yeah.
I don't think Devon's falling this season, because she
Nah.
reluctantly is following Maul at the beginning of this. She escapes from Maul. Like, she's still looking for her master. She's not buying what he's selling now. There have been flashes. I do think Dockie's going to die at the end of this first season, though. Like, I think,
Okay.
and I think that, and then we're going to see this look on Devon's face, and that's kind of like, but you know what I mean? Like, listening to everybody I mean, everyone's been writing Docu off since episode 1, so I hope I'm wrong, but I feel like they have a longer plan for this story.
Yeah.
I don't, so, but her not. They had that big fight scene. They worked really well together. We loved that fight scene. Mike and Christy on our live show loved that. I listened to everybody. They're eating that up, and they work really well together. You see these flashes of how they fight so well together.
Yeah,
Devin and Maul. And then as soon as this episode opens up, Devin's like in Riley, and they're having that conversation. I think that I'm surprised how slow the fall is going to be for Devin, but it would be kind of ridiculous if it happened really quickly. Like, what kind of Jedi is she if she just, snap your fingers, she's a bad guy all of a sudden?
Yeah.
So I like the fact that this show is moving at Mach speed, but the character development is happening at a good pace.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Something I want to talk about is the themes and ideas around this one episode to begin with, and then we'll start getting into a bit more of the character stuff before we start going into the predictions, etc. Is what do we think this episode is about? For me personally, there were a couple of themes here that are being explored. I think fear is a big one, and I think that fine emotional balance of Maul, as well as desperation, I think sort of seeps into this because the cracks start to emerge amongst the Shadow Collective team as well to a degree. Yeah. So for me, I think this episode is about, can the Empire or can the Shadow Collective stand up to the Empire?
Yeah. Yeah. Mine's kind of, all these characters are kind of coming to a precipice of decision making, right? We got Two Boots has to make some decisions. Devin's got to make decisions. Docky's got to make decisions. Maul's going to make decisions. The Mandalorian. So like, it's all kind of this like where loyalty, I guess I'll say, is my thing. Because who are you loyal to when it hits the fan? Because it hits the fan in this episode and it continues on into the next episode. So I'm going to say my theme for this episode is like loyalty. That makes sense.
Yeah. No, 100%. Yeah. Sort of ties into my prediction, but I'll jump into that a bit later on. We are going to talk a little bit about how it's connected to the wider Star Wars saga. Obviously, now we see the Empire in full, complete control. Obviously, they've landed. The troops are out, etc. It's still the stormtroopers that we're used to seeing with their different versions of armor. It's not the New Hope kind of versions that we've got just yet.
Rebel stuff.
Yeah, we're still seeing the chicken walkers, etc. The speeder bike stuff. No change. But in terms of connecting to the other parts of the Star Wars saga, is anything else that you noticed?
No, I think this is kind of ties into like the Andor side of things where we're seeing what the Empire is capable of. Kids that maybe not have watched Andor because it was a little too adult, they're seeing what we see, what we saw in Andor, they're seeing it in the animated world. And it's still pretty scary, I think. All of a sudden these TK troopers and everyone's taking over and the hustle and bustle of that. And, we get into that big fight scene. So, yeah, I think that it kind of connects that way just with the general takeover of what the Empire is like. And Disney, Lucasfilm, Favreau, and everyone, Linwin and all those guys are doing a really fabulous job with these recent shows.
Yeah.
Of really because how used to be like you kind of like the Empire. Like I have my Empire shirt. I have, but it's hard to like them after Andor and after Maul Shadow Lord, seeing what they're doing to people. So I think that's a pretty cool showing the side of the Empire, like not glorifying it, and showing what it's really like. So I like that. And I think that really connects, and it makes everything else that comes after this a little bit more important,
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, I totally agree. That's again credit to the storytelling and the world building around each series, like Andor, etc. Because again, it's all got its own themes, its own planets, etc. Which is it's obviously really good for the Star Wars universe. Characters in this, obviously, we've already spoken about more, but we'll dive into more a bit more in detail. Actually, what character do you want to start with? Actually, Jimmy, what character do you want to start chatting about?
Well, can we talk a little bit about Brander first? Because he says a couple things.
Let's do it. Yeah, let's get into it.
So I've got these notes. And again, folks, we've watched these things. I mean, we had this, a week before it came out or 2 weeks before it came out?
2 weeks,
Tons of notes. So it always kind of comes back to me a little bit more on Mondays after we watch it. But I've taken extensive notes and, we've got Docky and Brander bonding, kind of talking about what it's like to raise kids and all this kind of stuff. And at one point, he tells, see if I can find it in my notes here. I apologize. He tells Docky that he actually worked with a Jedi at one point, and I want to know
Yeah.
who the heck that was, and
Yeah.
that he never believed the Empire's BS, like the
Yeah.
what
Yeah. The
what's
whole
the word I'm looking
66.
for, the propaganda against the
Yeah.
Jedi. And I thought that was really, really cool. It gives us a little bit more of Brander. And of course, leading into the next episode, he's willing to sacrifice himself for his kid. So I
Yeah.
just think that with Brander and reading the comic, as I have been, and then with him, and again, he doesn't have a big part in the show, but he's got enough. Again, I still think he's the anchor because
Mm.
he's that character that we've seen in real life TV shows that makes
Yeah.
this a little bit more realistic. I really like that. And again, there's not a ton with him, but I just felt like that was important, and it gives us a little more backstory. I feel like we could be looking at like books or more comics with him after the show is
Yeah.
over.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to die or not. Like, I have no clue. It would be a shame if he does, like if he doesn't
Yeah.
make
I
it through
agree.
this, but he's going to have to go on the run because he can't stay in Janix anymore.
No, he's a
So
very
I think,
relatable character, and I totally agree. I think it's one of the first times that we see civilians straight after Order 66 that turn around and don't believe that propaganda. But again, it just shows that the Empire's reach, the fear mongering amongst the civilization as well, and civilians is evidently clear. And sort of mentioned there the chat that he has with Daki and the effect that it's got on Riley. He's just doing his normal 9 to 5 job, just wants Riley to grow up normal, grow up loved, and just be a normal human being in a galaxy full of chaos.
yeah, absolutely.
Next up, character-wise, that we want to quickly go into and talk about as well is we sort of alluded to this person is going to be probably Riley, to be fair, because I know they have a quick chat with Dan as well at some point, and they're talking about how different they were when they were raised up, and you see that significant difference between a child growing up and a Jedi growing up, and this to me is where we start to see a bit of not hatred, but I think jealousy and enviness between Devon and Riley.
Back and forth though, kind of like,
Yeah.
and I think that's a really good point, Jack. I think that when you look at, all that changed for me when I saw young live action Ahsoka in the Ahsoka show.
Yeah.
You see these little kids and they're stuck in a war at 15, 16 years old. And I know that they're not a 15, 16-year-old kid that we see, like running around here. They're Jedi and everything like that. But, and then you go back to that conversation they had last week about their upbringing, and Devon's like real prepared. She's squared away. The differences, but they also, like, I think that's a pretty good shout. Like, she's gonna, and it's always the what if or what I didn't have. I didn't have a normal life growing up. I had the Jedi Council, and then like every kid on the planet is dreaming of being a Jedi or a hero, and it's kind of a fun like back and forth between the two of them. I like that.
Yeah, and I think this is where we start to see the cracks a little bit in Devon's character, and I think that's what Maul obviously sense and will manipulate to his advantage as well. Because again, you sense it from Devon. She's sacrificed her childhood to gain this power, and I think that frustration shows every time she speaks to Daki and is saying, let's take down the Empire. But obviously, because he's old, he's wise, he's been. Well, we don't know how old Daki is, do we? Obviously, at this point, but he's obviously seen a few battles, etc., and he understands. It's not just a case of getting a lightsaber and going up to Palpatine and whooping his ass. That's not what's going to happen. So I think it's a very important arc that's because it's only covered briefly as well. It doesn't take up a lot of the episode, does it?
No. This again with the pacing, like maybe that's the only thing that's fast paced. Like so much happens in this episode.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, so like because then they get split apart from each other.
Yeah.
And
things start to turn a bit south.
Yeah, and Riley goes one direction and she goes the other, and they find Docky. She finds Docky and Brander, and it is an interesting. And that's when I talked about decisions and loyalty. Like, Brander is going to go get Riley from the headquarters that's swarming with shiny impies, and and Docky wants to leave. He just wants to this whole mess, and he's like, "Yeah, we gotta get out of here." Kind of like you said, and it's probably to do with his age and his wisdom. And she's like, and this is the first time where she openly defies him, is like, "No, I'm helping Lawson."
Yeah.
And it's like, that's huge, It's and the thing about it is like, you look at it like, okay, well, she's not falling for Maul stuff, but those cracks, like you said, are starting to come through because she's openly defying her master. And so I think that it's good storytelling because, like, yeah, she's not giving in to Maul right away.
No. Yeah, it's a build
But
up.
you can see the effects are over here. When you work with kids like I do, I mean, just the other day, I was like, I asked one of the kids, like, "Hey, what's going on in your life?" And he's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Well, you're being a jerk right now, and it's not who you are." You know what I mean? So you just know, like, with these kids and whoever's writing this characters, they're doing a really good job.
Yeah, I totally
Well,
agree.
we know who's writing these characters. Julia Cooperman's writing these characters, but
But you look at the movies, we saw Anakin's fall. People probably argue we saw Anakin's fall over the space of 3 movies. So let's say 4 or 5 hours. Episode 3, he went from loving Padme to an extent to murdering children at the Jedi Temple. That was a quick turnaround. So I think they've got it right with Devon, and we are, again, it goes with the build up stuff. We're watching a Jedi fall, I think, not in real time, but the closest thing to where it makes sense. And I think the impact's going to be absolutely huge at the end of it. And I think that segues me nicely, I think, onto why she's going to fall, is in terms of Darth Maul. Now we see a massive change, and I think we see a completely different side of what I did. Again, Maul being my favorite character in Star Wars universe, I saw a really different side to Maul in this one. A really different side. What were your thoughts on this, Jimmy, on Maul?
Just for this episode, like,
yeah.
See, I think he's full of it personally. Like, his cool demeanor on the outside, I think he's like a duck on water, where he acts like he has it all together, but he's just his feet are going crazy underneath the water. It's interesting. I think the bigger change really comes next episode. Obviously, when we what's the next one called, the creeping fear, but I see. Again, I think more of it comes in the next episode because he's still kind of himself here. He gets mad at Devon for leaving and not buying what he's selling, and then of course he gets interrupted by a bunch of stuff. So I guess I'll save that for the next episode for me personally. But you know him better than I do, so.
Yes, I totally agree. At this point, it does look like a duck on water. We've seen this hard exterior from him throughout this series. He's chopping fools up for fun, if you like. We start to see the Shadow Collective not quite fall apart yet, but it is starting to crack for sure. I think as well, it's important to mention that Rook Cast at this point is still completely loyal, which is interesting. It's interesting to me that. What are you going to say, Jimmy? Go on.
Yeah, she's awesome. Like, she's like the ultimate second, man. Like, and even with the way this ends, like, she's not giving up, and everyone else is like, she's like, nope. I hope that if she's going to die in this series, it better damn well be protecting Maul or saving Maul from something big and bad. So. Like, if she doesn't go out that way, that's a disservice to her loyalty and that character.
Yeah. And then, so we spoke about, obviously, Riley gets arrested, taken away to the prison, to Shiny Jail with the Shiny Imps. And then I think arguably the next big thing in this episode is obviously the battle.
Yeah, and that kind of starts, it's weird because it kind of starts right at the beginning, and then it jumps to all these different things, and that gives Devon and Riley their chances to go their separate ways. Well, actually, Riley gets picked up by the clones, or I say clones because they're in the lats. But so they grab him. The gunship gets him out of there. He's taken back to the headquarters, police headquarters.
Yeah,
and then Riley, of course, runs into Brander and Docky. So. And that kind of leads, and then Brander's not even hesitating. He's like, yeah, I got to go get my son, regardless of how asinine this could be.
Yes. And obviously on this one, again, right at the end there's that snippet of Marek calling for aid. Again, me personally, I thought he was calling Palpatine or Vader.
That's weird, right? Because, like, there's no way, because he's the first brother. So is he really answering to other people? Like, is he? You know, the only person I mean, I assume Grand Inquisitor or Vader, right? But I
Yeah,
mean, they don't call the Grand Inquisitor Lord. What does he say, my Lord or whatever?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I don't know. I still don't think that's who he was talking to. I think that whoever he was talking to is sent the crow, and then if that doesn't work, which we know that it. Well, do they think he's dead though? Do you know what I mean? Like, because we
Mm,
kind of leave off where like they probably assume Maul's dead, or if we don't know what happens to them either. By the way the next episode ends, I don't
mm,
recall off the top of
no,
my
no, they
head.
don't. But I think, like you say, it leads nicely into episode 8. Obviously, we get the crow now appear, but again, and it's something I'm going to highlight now before we go into the deep dive of episode 8 is both Marok and the crow were dealt pretty swiftly by a trained Ahsoka. You know, she made light
Individually,
work. Yeah, individually, yeah, but she made pretty light work of them both.
um, when she fights, and that, I've seen this, and I kind of agree with this too. I feel like Marok's way more scary. We talked about this too. Like he's way scarier in this series than he was in Ahsoka's live action.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, Is that because in this, he's whatever creature, whatever being he is, he's himself, and then when
yes,
she faces him, he is a gas bag of green,
yes,
magic,
one
and
one
then
100%.
the crow, I mean, the only reason the crow got put into that Tales of series is because Fifth Brother, they still needed Fifth Brother for some, from others for other things, because
Yeah,
that's who
yeah,
she really takes out in the book. She takes out Fifth Brother, and was it E.K. Johnston's Ahsoka novel?
yeah,
But yeah, and that fight scene between them, I guess that's kind of how we'll wrap up episode 7. Though, is like
yeah,
that massive fight scene between Marok and well, not Marok, but Maul, Marok, and Crowface.
yeah,
So
yeah. And then obviously this is what I was talking about as well with the emotional breakdown of Maul. Now is it probably one of his weakest? We go into episode 8 of the Creeping Fear, which again will go right back to the tone of the episode. This is for me again that creeping fear of the Empire once again has destroyed everything and seized complete control of everything. Um, and the whole creeping fear thing again, it's very reminiscent throughout with Maul. He's getting that feeling of loss, of grief. It's all coming down on him tenfold. There's a lot of flashbacks and that we see of Maul and his, again, I say it's savage upbringing. That's like a two in one there.
yeah,
But yeah, it's pretty rough, isn't it? What he's gone through.
yeah, like I have those notes for this. What is it, the Creeping Fear, written by, who was it, Jennifer Corbett? We've
Yeah,
heard her name before. But yeah, just with, because that made me go, and I had Sons of Dathomir, so I wanted to read that because he starts kind of recounting that
yeah,
whole everything that happened in that, and I was like, oh, I got to read this really quick. And so I'm halfway through that comic, which is really good. But yeah, it's interesting to me. As a child, they show like him getting like electrocuted, and force lightning for making
mm,
mistakes, and just all those different things. And I think sometimes we forget, like, his hatred for Kenobi kept him alive after, you
yeah,
know and that's the thing, is, like, he didn't even know Kenobi that much. Do you know what I mean? Like, sometimes I feel like we look ahead to everything that happens in Rebels, and we're like, "Oh, yeah, of course he's angry," but, like, that stuff doesn't happen until after the Phantom Menace, you know? So, he is a rage monster now, and it's
mm,
all guided at Sidious.
yeah,
So, I think that'll be interesting to see, because I mean, he kind of goes through that roller coaster of emotions where, like, he's not going to give up, he's going to give up, he's not going to give up, and he's really struggling. Like, it's
yeah,
kind of like a mental illness kind of thing where you have your good days and you have your bad days, but he just keeps calling on that hate and just getting stronger in the Force. I think on the dark side of the Force, to get him through it, which I think we're going to have some repercussions in episodes 9 and 10, because he's going
yes,
to be ready to explode.
yes. And I think we're going to see that in this. So yeah, for me, I think the overall reaction for this again is still not slowed down, but this is the one where it's starting to click pieces together. You're getting a deeper understanding of exactly what Moore's been through prior to Phantom Menace up until this point. You understand the hatred, like you said there, Jimmy, for not just Obi-Wan Kenobi, but also Palpatine. And it resonates with me, I think, a little bit as well, because, again, being one of my favorite characters in Star Wars universe, he has been hard done by, but all he's ever done is what he's been told to do.
Yeah, we talked about this weirdly enough. He's got this weird sense of honor, Lady Tano, all these things, how he treats people. And he wants to have a civilized life. He wants to have order. He wants to have structure, and he wants friends, but he just keeps getting, he's just one of those characters, one of those people that just keeps getting, and eventually, he has snapped in it before. And I think, again, we kind of see, like, I'll be curious how the 9 and 10 opens up, because the way that this episode ends, he's kind of like losing his mind again with all those flashbacks, and just the sound work with like Palpatine's laughter and all that kind of stuff, man. Sick.
Yeah, for sure. In terms of themes and ideas and what this episode is about, I think, like you've just mentioned there, this is the one that's keying up episodes 9 and 10. There is a massive cliffhanger which we'll talk about later on. But in terms of themes, again, it is talking about the whole legacy that Palpatine and the effect that he's had on Maul. And again, it connects all through the whole Star Wars saga, again, even up to Rise of Skywalker for me, because you now also not only get a better understanding of Maul, but exactly how evil Palpatine really is. He's obviously overthrown a Jedi order. We get and understand that, but he talks about how he snatched Maul from his mum just to train him.
Yeah.
The training that Maul went through, the torture during training. Again, if you've read the books, you'll see more into it. But for this, I think it really does paint a thousand words. In terms of any other themes being explored here, Jim? Is there anything else that stands out to you?
I still think the loyalty thing, I think, because I feel like these episodes are made together and they kind of find a place to split them. The loyalty thing here, because you still got Rook. And it's like, I have in my notes, like, this is the first time she's looked defeated. And, I put in my notes, like, do we feel bad for her? And then, so there's loyalty there, and family kind of too, and that's going to be weird. I mean, we know Star Wars is all about family, but like, you've got Brando going for Riley. You're going to have Rena Soul, who's going to sacrifice for someone she cares about. And then I thought, and there was a moment too to kind of go with that family theme and loyalty theme, and I thought this was really huge. I don't know if some people may not even notice it or not, or whatever, but again, I got to see it a couple times, that when they're leaving, like when that group that's left over, because at the end of that last episode, we got that big lightsaber battle going on, and then Rook gets the remaining Mandalorians and Icarus out of there, and that those ungrateful Mandalorians try to take off in the gauntlet. They get blown up, and she kind of puts her arm on Icarus's shoulder and is like, shows him sympathy. Like, I get it. Like, you lost a brother. You lost, literally you lost a brother. Kind of like a millet, like, can appreciate, because what she's been through as a Mandalorian. I thought that was kind of huge. This was a nice touch by the writers. She's a great leader.
Yeah, I totally agree, mate. They're sympathized, because again, this Shadow Collective is a group of people that have been affected by the Empire, that have lost everything to some degree. And I think that's the frustrating thing as a fan. And I get it as well, because we know where it goes, etc. Is if only they all teamed up. It's the whole thing again with Saw Gerrera and the Resistance and the Rebels. Everyone, including the Shadow Collective, they've all got the same goal, but they all just go about it. Even the Jedi, they're all just doing it differently. If they all banded together,
Ahsoka would have listened to Maul in season 7.
Yeah.
Right. But, it's bonkers. So, and they have like 5 or 6 people, it looks like they have left. They got Vario and Mando or 2 and Icarus and Rook and Spybot. And like,
what's your thoughts on Vario at this point as well?
Again, if you've seen Tombstone, the movie Tombstone, Spike, the guy, the coward, always like just gets out of stuff, talks a lot of smack, and then always just kind of escapes. And every time he's in the scene and something's about to go down, you can just see him slither off to the side. Like, he always just disappears. He's so frustrating, but he's pretty funny too at the same time.
Yeah, I've
I
got a
do
lot of
hope he
time.
gets. I do hope he gets arrested or something happens to him, just to kind of. But he won't. He'll be one of those little slippery little suckers that slips off and starts his criminal enterprise up again.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm here for that as well. Cool. So we spoke about that. We've spoken about obviously Maul being a broken man. Again, going through the sewers, similar to what the Jedi were doing, etc., just trying to find their purpose, so to speak. And then with the whole, breaking out of prison Riley scene, there is a unlikely hero. Now, this didn't go down how I thought it would go down. I was expecting like absolute carnage, but it wasn't. It was quite simple, wasn't it?
Yeah, Two Boots is finally getting his head out of his third point of contact. If he has that, I don't know. It's the whole thing with droids, but yeah, he is struggling, and I don't know. It was interesting. I still don't like him. It's
No,
still
it's
not
not
enough
that
for
fan.
me, but yeah, I thought it was okay. I mean, I don't know how else that plays out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it
Yeah,
would have
yeah.
been. I think it would have been a little bit neater if, like, I don't know how you do this because you're running this episode simultaneous with Maul's insanity, but if somehow you could have stretched things out and like Maul would have had to have teamed up with them, and then
Could
I
you
don't know,
imagine?
that would have been pretty cool. But I get it. Like, we're running these parallel paths, like you said, of people getting devastated by the Empire. So I thought it was
Yeah,
fine. I thought it was good. I really
yeah,
liked Devon's. She walks down and all those aliens come after her. Those three big muscle heads, and the next
yeah,
thing you know,
yeah.
we're getting a Han Solo escaping in his speeder scene. And then she proves what a hell of a pilot she is. So I like
She's
that.
a wicked pilot as well.
Yeah. So what did you
That's a
think
great
about
point.
that? How do you feel about the way they get Riley back?
Yeah, again, it's I don't want to say it's a maximum security prison by any means. They did make it look quite a lot easier. I get why they've sort of sped that bit up, to get the story going. Um,
We've
but
already had one jailbreak in, right? I mean, Maul did it, so it's like you don't want to see that all over again.
no, exactly, and I think that's part of the reason why they kept it short and sweet like that. It does sort of, it's the word I'm looking for here, Jimmy. Bring Two Boots back into the fold. Give us his. It's the word I'm looking for, like reputation. He's got a bit of credit for himself.
Yeah, I think that he's slowly getting it. I know I have notes here with him, kind of like he's finally figuring it out.
Mm.
Let me see if I don't know. Two Boots very uncool, unnatural, trying to sneak Riley out.
Yeah.
Son's four guards. I put you're a rebel now, but so yeah, I just think this is his chance to get back in the good graces, and we'll see. There's still a lot with this droid. I don't want to keep harping on him, but this is the only place that the writing doesn't make a lot of sense to me in this series is Two Boots being able to go back and forth between following protocol and not following protocol. Like a droid follows protocol or they don't. They're either free willed or they're not. And for me, it just doesn't work for some reason. I'm glad he does the right thing here, but if I were Brander, I might turn him off and just leave him.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, why not? I'm with you as well. The whole Two Boots thing, the whole being protocol droid, etc., but doesn't actually follow protocol. And it's still not clear as to like who's programmed him or why he is the way he is. If that makes sense, because I was expecting that Brandon had some sort of influence in making him or programming, or he'd hacked him, or because I mean it's obvious at this point as well. He's very emotionally connected to Riley, isn't he?
yeah, in a weird way because he's kind of mean to him. That those previous episodes, and then he's like, all right, I got to save this kid because he finally is putting things together that the Empire is not what they're supposed to be. And I know that'll be Chrissy's argument on Tuesday when we do this live review, but yeah, and the thing is we've seen this before. Like if you read the book, oh my gosh, why can't I think of it? Low Red Moon with ND5. That whole book, he's learning, and he's like this droid that really understands how to be around humans, or if he doesn't understand something, he knows how to react appropriately, even if he doesn't understand. But then with a flick of a switch, that's all changed.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
that's what you get with droids. That's why I think sometimes they flirted with like wiping C-3PO's mind, but they never went after R2. And that's why he's consistently a little pain in the butt all the way through, and stubborn, and does exactly what he needs to do, and
Well, that's
has
one
the
of the
big
things. That's one of the things probably for another episode as things in Star Wars that didn't make sense.
Yeah.
But like, C-3PO, he talks over so many millions of languages, but Sith just isn't one of them.
No.
Anyway, back to the more Shadow Lord stuff. So yeah, it pretty much ties that piece up there with the escape. Obviously, Brandon and the crew are trying to get out. They get the ship on the go, ready to go, and there's a big scene involving a unsung or someone I didn't think that would save the day, if I'm honest.
Are you talking about Rena?
Talking about Rena.
Yeah, I'm so pumped. I hope she survives this.
Same.
And I love the fact that she just jacks up Lieutenant Blake hardcore, just elbows him right in the face. And I guess I forgot, when we said, what happens to the Inquisitors, they're both there as well. Those guys are screwed if they come to the bottom of that elevator.
What? Yeah,
there's
100%.
no getting away. You got 2 Inquisitors, you've got a bunch of imps, you've got, they're done. And she is willing to, I think if she survives, Brander owes her a night out in the town.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm just looking now because I can't remember the name of it. But who was the creature that betrayed the Bad Batch? I can't remember the creature's name.
Oh, Sid.
Sid, that's it, Sid.
She was a Transocean, though, wasn't she?
Yes. So this is something that played on my mind is because obviously we've just come from the Bad Batch, but the betrayal of Sid hit hard, obviously, and all that.
Yeah.
And obviously, at this point in this series as well, it's another sort of criminal underworld boss, etc., etc. I was thinking Sid vibes. I thought, oh, she's betrayed them. What's going to go on? Like you said, she went out in a blaze of glory. If she's survived, I hope she survived because again, I think that's the nod for me to the Bad Batch people as well. That not all our goodies going to get betrayed. There is still loyalties, and that's something that you've kept saying throughout these recaps. And then it does finish off again with the main man himself, Maul, but it finishes on an absolute cliffhanger. Did anyone see this coming? I'd argue no. What's your thoughts, Jimmy? Because I know it's a big one for you.
Yeah, no, I'm pumped. Like, I am excited to see, this is the beginning of Crimson Dawn. He wants, and that just shows you, man, Dryden Voss, he's so smooth.
Oh yeah.
He's like, he knows what's happening. He's like, hey, I'll help you. I may have betrayed you, right at the end of season 7, but here's my window to make things right. So I'm going to send in, I'm going to come cruising into my yacht. We'll pick y'all up. Right. Have a drink. It's a party, kind of.
Yeah.
So I was pumped when they're like, Dryden Voss wants to talk to you. I was like, wow. Like,
and this makes sense. This makes sense as to why it finished on such a big cliffhanger, because again, it sets up the final 2 episodes just nicely. Now, before we go into our predictions and theories, because again, we've mentioned it now, we're finally at peace or at the same point as everyone else. In terms of ratings for both episodes 7 and 8, how many Mauls out of 5 are you giving this, Jimmy? Personally, I'm going to go for 4.
Yeah, I really liked the action in season and last episode. I know we didn't talk about a ton of it, but I thought that the firefight was kind of insane. Like, they'd all be dead.
Yeah.
The way they were doing it. So you can tell they need to bring in someone with some military experience. Jack, you need to talk to ILM about, like, combat strategies, because it's kind of what you do. Kind of what you do. Yeah, like everyone on both sides would be dead. So I'm gonna go 4, and 2 boots makes me annoyed, so I'm gonna stay 4 there. This episode I really did like. This episode 9, I really liked the flashbacks for Maul. I liked Rena. And so I'm gonna go 4.5 with this one, because I feel like this is really it's kind of built up. It didn't fall off. It really kind of built up to these last 2 episodes on May the 4th when they come out. I thought I did a good job of really kind of pushing that, and it surprised the heck out of me with the Crimson Dawn and Dryden Voss.
Yeah. Awesome. Right. So, like I said, we are at the point where we can make our theories and predictions. We haven't seen episode 9 and 10. Like Jimmy said, if everyone says to have outside of Lucasfilm, they are out like lying. But yes, we start off with that cliffhanger, obviously, of Dryden Voss sweeping in. We presume with his yacht to pick everyone up. I'm sort of going along the lines of, like you said there, Jimmy, as well. This is the start of Crimson Dawn. I totally agree. I don't think we're going to see the fall of Devon within 2 episodes. I think that's going to be long drawn out.
I think that would be a huge mistake.
Yeah. I do think we are going to lose certain characters, but we'll come on to that
Yes.
shortly. In fact, we'll come on to it now. So, of all the characters we've got from Maul all the way through, we'll stick with the main ones. I'm going to list them off. You're going to say die,
Oh God.
disappears, or lives.
All right, dies, disappears, or lives. Here we go.
And if they disappear, obviously it gives them room to come back. So we'll start with the
Okay.
obvious. Maul,
Well, he's gonna live.
easy. Devon,
Gonna live.
2 Boots.
God, I hope he dies. But he'll probably live.
Okay,
Yeah.
Daki.
I think this is where he dies. I think this is the last thing in episode 10. I think that it ends on a cliffhanger for season 2. He dies. Devon loses her marbles. Maybe she shows like a Cal Kestis type dark side flash with something. Maybe she's the one who kills Marak. You know, some kind of crazy force just unleashed. And I think that's where we end season 10. But I think that Daki does die, unfortunately, because he's a little bit of a coward, but he's kind of worked his way into I like this Jedi. So
Okay.
yeah.
Dies, interesting. I agree with that one as well. I think Devon's going to kill him, whether it's by accident or not.
Oh my God, that'd be messed up.
That would be a big turning point. Or he's going to sacrifice himself, and one or two things are going to happen. Where one, Maul could have saved him but chose not to, or two, he tells Maul to look after Devon, or tells Devon to go with Maul to keep the Jedi Order going. That's the route I'm going down with that, but we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know.
We'll see. Rookcast.
Oh God, for loyalty's sake, I hope she survives. But good. I'm trying to think. Do we see her ever again after this? Because Siege of Mandalore, all that stuff's over. Disappears. I'm gonna give her some leeway. Disappears.
Yeah, it's a safe bet. Brandon Lawson
Lives.
Oh, interesting. Riley Lawson
Lives. Might get scooped up by his mommy, but he lives.
Okay.
I don't know if that's living, but
Varia.
Weasel. He lives for sure.
Yeah, 100%. And Marek. Do you think he lives?
I think Marek bites it in this one. I think this is where he goes down. I still think, just in my head canon, something has to happen to Daki to get Devon to do like the snap.
Yeah.
So I feel like the Crow and Marek or somebody, like, I don't know, but yeah, I think this is where Marek bites it at the end of this season. And then I don't know how, if they're going to set something up where they find him, so they can film, like maybe Balin shows up, because he's also on the planet or some crazy or whatever. I don't know. That's kind of weird, but
yeah.
I'm going to say Marek dies and then Crowface lives. Obviously, we know that he gets to live. So
we know that one. Spybot.
Oh, he's living for sure. That little monster.
Yeah. Awesome. Right. Totally agree. Right. We're going to go through it once more. This time, all it's going to be is lives, dies, disappears. So this is just to recap everything. All right. So one word only. Right. Here we go. Maul.
Lives.
Devon.
Lives.
2 Boots.
Dies.
Daki.
Dies.
Rook.
I can't say disappears, or I can.
Yeah.
Disappears.
Brandon Lawson.
Lives.
Riley Lawson.
Lives.
Varia.
Lives.
And Marek.
Dies.
Awesome. So these are all the predictions for Maul Shadow Lord season 1 only. Again, I totally agree with everything there that Jimmy said. How they meet their end or how they live, obviously we've got different opinions of.
Yeah.
And I think that pretty much covers theories and predictions. Anything else you want to finish up with, Jimmy?
No, man. I'm excited. I think that Jack and I will probably get online Monday night of May the 4th and record this. So just our recording won't come out Monday morning. It'll come out probably later Monday night for the final episodes. I would love to hear everyone's theories. How do you think this season of this series ends. You know, do you agree or disagree with our lives, dies, or disappears? And you know, what do you think it's, you know, here's the most important question: where's Devin at the end of episode 10? Like, where is she emotionally, physically? You know, because I think that's the key.
It is indeed. And lastly, again, I just want to say a massive thank you to all the powers that be at the Mouse House, Disney, and more importantly, Lucasfilm. Thank you so much. As always, we super appreciate being given this massive opportunity. Hopefully, we've done it justice as we have with all the others that you've given us. Again, a massive thank you to all the listeners, viewers, again, for your comments, your emails, your voice notes. Super appreciate those as always. And like Jimmy said, please keep sending them in. Let us know what you think, who lives, who dies, and where do you think Devin is at this point. Right. I think from me then, Jimmy, that's everything. Thank you so much, boys and girls. Jimmy, you want to close us out?
All right, folks, let us know. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. We'll see y'all next week.